Now it's time for TIPisodes with quick tips you should know. Techniques you can implement into your workflow right here on A Tale, oh yeah, A Tale of Two Hygienists.
Well, welcome back everyone to another TIPisode. This one was with me, Andrew Johnston. I'm your host today, and I wanted to reflect on some things that I am thankful for. I feel like in the last year, we've done several episodes about being mindful, being in the moment, being intentional, and just finding ways to be thankful and have gratitude. I was also just at a conference, and one of the lecturers had, and this is going to come up in another episode that we're going to do here in a few weeks, but the lecturer had basically talked about how easy it is to find the first, 5 to 10 things that you're thankful for every time you sit down and journal these things. But past those ones, it gets a little bit more difficult to figure out, kind of the things that you're thankful for, but it allows you to be more in tune with who you are as a person when you are able to sit down and think past those first 10. And so for my own self, as I'm trying to improve my emotional, spiritual, and maybe even physical well-being, it's really important that I just take a few moments every day and think about the things that I am so grateful for. So I'm going to go over my top 5 things that I'm thankful for this Thanksgiving. I'm sure that there are going to be answers that some of them you kind of already agree with, and some of them you may or may not. So here we go. Number 1, I think it's pretty easy for most of us to say that you're thankful for your friends or your family or, the people that you're close with. And of course I am. My family is the number one thing in my life. My wife is the best. The kids are awesome. But really, for me, I want to kind of take it a different way. And I'm thankful for the individuals in my life who have become like family. They're not the ones that, they're your high school buddies, so you knew them from 30 years ago. They're different, and you have them too. They're the people that you really love. It's not the ones that you feel guilty or you have an obligation to tell them that you love them. It's not the ones that you say, I love you on social media so that people will see that you guys are close or whatever mind games go into that. For me, these are the people that I don't have to talk to for maybe weeks or even months. But when we come back together, we pick up like nothing has happened. We haven't been gone at all for all this time. And I only have a few of these people in my life because I don't think that this quality or this type of person is just around every corner. And I was visiting with one of them recently, and I see him maybe 2 or 3 times a year. I see the kids maybe 2, maybe even 3 times a year if I'm lucky. But I was visiting them, and his daughter had come back from preschool, and she just came right on up to me, and she wanted to show me all the things that she made at school that day, and she wanted to share with me all of the things that are new in her little world. Her worldview is so small, but it's the most magical place. There wasn't a big to-do about, oh my gosh, you're here, oh, blah, blah, blah. She was just so matter of fact that I had been there, even though I hadn't been there at least probably 6 months, maybe even more. And I'm grateful for a friend who talks about me to his kids, who keeps me involved in their lives, even though I'm not physically present. Those are the types of relationships that matter. Number 2, I am grateful for the distraction of good and accessible media. I think social media is a dumpster fire constantly, but buried deep in the flames, I feel like there are creators who are consistently giving me ideas to think about, new worldviews. They help me with maybe travel plans. They help me with seeing situations in a different way. And I really appreciate that. I've talked about this dental trip that I'm trying to plan for the Philippines for a couple of years now. And in my head, it made a lot of sense of how to do it. But when you start putting the logistics together, it ends up being extremely complicated. And it kind of kept me at bay from really diving into it too deep. And some of those logistics were just simply like where to go, because not only do you have to have the travel accommodations, the hotels, the flights, the shuttle vans and things like that all taken care of, but you also have to figure out, is there going to be food to eat in this location? Who's going to prepare it? Is it safe? Is it clean? Is all of these things? Is there a school or a group that's willing to partner with us locally? There was just so much to try and know. And from the person that's hosting this trip, I really feel an obligation that it is my responsibility to show the culture also of the Philippines to all of the attendees that are there, because it's something that I love. It's something I'm passionate about. And I want them to feel and love the Philippines like I feel and love the Philippines. So to get me jump started, I started following some of the travel vloggers. There are people, I think you probably heard about them. Kara and Nate is a couple that we really like watching all of their videos. There's another couple, their channel's called Jumping Places, and they were actually stuck in El Nido, which is one of the places that we're going to go during the pandemic. And so they got to know that part of the Philippines really, really, really well, and their videos reflected it. And it was just, you could tell how much they loved that area as well. And so you start going down these rabbit holes with these vloggers, these YouTubers, and man, you go back 10 years, there's nothing like this. There's nothing that could have led me to the company that we're going to end up using for our travel guides. There was nothing like that unless you read it in a book, or maybe, I guess 10 years ago, it could have been like an online blog post about it, but not in the same detail that these content creators are doing. And so I'm really grateful for the really good and accessible media tools that we have at our fingertips. So number 3, when I was building this out, I did number 1, number 2, number 4, and number 5 really easily. Number 3, I was just trying to think about like, what can I tell you that, one, it gives you an insight about who I am as a person, because I think I've done a pretty decent job. You guys don't really know me all that well, but you kind of can see my personality a little bit. But I try to make the podcast not about me. I make it about, the guest and everyone else. And so I wanted to give you an insight of like who I am, what I like. And that's not just about travel or something that we've talked about 1,000 times. But I mean, I couldn't think of anything. So I think number 3 is just going to be the NFL. I absolutely love watching football. I'm starting to get into college football a little bit more, but my love of the NFL isn't just like, okay, there's a bunch of people hitting each other and like the brutality of it. And it's not that. It's a little bit different, a little bit deeper. I kind of get made fun of a lot. My brother makes fun of me a lot because, what do they say? I'm a fair weather fan or whatever. The term is, I like winners. I like teams that are well coached. I like ones that have created great schemes on offense and defense. I like the ones that make the adjustments at halftime where they're getting completely just railed on, and then they make an adjustment and all of a sudden they pull out the win. I like the players that are playing at the peak of performance. I'm not a Philadelphia Eagles fan, but I like what Hurts is doing. I think he's a great quarterback. He's someone I would sit down and watch because he's so great. But what makes him great isn't just his, natural athletic gifts. It's the way he thinks. It's the way he sees things. It's the way he dissects a defense. It's, should I throw it or should I pull it down and run? There's so many things about the NFL that, to me, it's almost like watching a chess match, which I know would be boring for a lot of people too. But it's more than I think what people think it is. And I am just very grateful for just how it's kind of pushed out to everyone. Everyone has access to watch it on, the local channels and things like that. And I think that's really cool. So number 4 is a little bit gushy. I'm really thankful for this profession. And I think that sometimes I think if you don't really know me all that well, and maybe if you do, like, you're going to listen to this list and be like, man, dude hates social media, which I kind of do. But I feel like in social media, it's become kind of like the cool thing, or it's like a badge of honor that, you've experienced burnout, or it's cool to look for something outside of this profession. You want to jump ships. But the reality is that no matter what, all professions have these same people, these same feelings about the profession itself. And there's root causes to it. Most of the time, it's just a personality thing. Like, your personality isn't compatible. The desires, the things that you want are not compatible with what's available. And so you try and make it work. You try and push yourself into this box, but it's not who you are. It's not the thing that fuels your fire. But that's not an indictment on the profession itself. It's an indictment on the situation that had happened that caused whoever made the decisions to become a hygienist or become a nurse or become a construction worker or whatever. Those decisions that led you or someone else up to that point, kind of make or break you. And so this profession for me is just freaking amazing. And I think it's really important that we're careful, that we be thankful, we be positive, we be optimistic. We just know this profession can give us so much if we let it. There are certain pockets of hygienists, however, making a ton of noise about how people should be rethinking becoming a hygienist. That's just terrible. But yeah, it's not for everybody. It's a great profession if you can find the good in it. For me personally, I think most of you know my story about how I became a hygienist. It wasn't like a lifelong passion goal of mine to be like, you know what, I just want to really work in someone's mouth. But once I got into it, and just like everything else, I really wanted to make the most out of it. I really enjoyed the work. I really enjoyed working with the patients. And, I worked hard to expand my skill set. I really wanted my doctors to give me more opportunity, give me new challenges, talk with them. I can't tell you how many times I would go into their offices and just talk strategy about stuff. And some of it was business, but a lot of it was about, hey, I have these things that I want to be done. And, how can we make that happen? Is that something you're open to? And if they're not open to it, that's fine. I've moved on from several jobs and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. So I just think that sometimes, we kind of get into this like negative attitude about this profession, but this profession, it's given me everything. Everything I have is because of this profession. It's as a sole provider for my household, it has allowed me to do that, to take care of my family. And we've had a good life. It has given me the opportunity to travel the globe really for different dental related conferences or meetings, some humanitarian trips. I've met some of the brightest minds, probably not even just in dentistry, but just people who are super engaged. They're motivated. They're driven people. I've had an opportunity to just have conversations with these people. I've been fortunate enough to sit in on what would be the equivalent of a dental board for the state, but for the dental hygiene side of it. I serve as a clinical examiner, which does take me traveling to different schools. And I get to still be in touch with what the students are, their skill level is. I can still see it. And, I'm in a leadership position with one of the leading regional testing groups. It's just that whenever I got bored or whenever I wanted a new challenge, there was something within dental hygiene space that I could go into if I wanted to. I've had an interesting career, and I couldn't imagine that too many professions would have allowed me to do the thing that I was allowed to do within this profession. So I'm very, very, very thankful for this profession. And then last but not least, y'all knew this was coming. It's you. I'm so thankful for you. Everyone who, listens to the show, sends me a message, sends me an email. I have felt so much love from you really since the very beginning, but really within the last 2 years has been something that I can't ignore. I'm so thankful for you. I appreciate that you endure, the bad episodes, the long TIPisode listicles like today, the ones that maybe aren't the ones that you showed up for, but you listen to anyway. And I appreciate that you celebrate the good episodes with me. I appreciate that you listen to the ads, that you reach out to sponsors, that you reach out to the guests that we've had. I'm thankful that you share episodes. I love it when you learn new things or maybe like a new way of thinking about a thing and you post it or you share it with your RDH friends. Like nothing means more to me than that. And so I'm just very thankful. Every year we try and plan for the next year, what kind of topics we're going to cover, what kind of guests we're going to have. You all show up for that and give us the best feedback. And this is, if you want to have time, I don't know if we're going to send a survey out this year, but we may or may not. If we do not, just send me an email, andrew@atale2hygienist.com, and let me know if there's a speaker or there's a topic you want me to cover in 2024. Because without your interest in the topics or in the people, this show doesn't have a chance. So that is all for me. I know I went over my time yet again, but I hope you're able to spend this long holiday weekend with the ones you love. I will see you soon and have a great weekend.
A tale of two hygienists.